Origin and this is why didn't Trotsky take over the USSR after Lenin by general history matters. After Lenin took a one-way trip to Deadsville, the leadership of the USSR was up in the air. As you'll know, Stalin, who Lenin thought was kind of a lame, that's an understatement. Yeah, Lenin really hated Stalin, right? I mean, see, around the same time, Hitler, right? Was Hindenburg, right? I guess he was the one who hated Hitler as well. Like, okay, he shouldn't be in charge, and then like, oh, fuck me, he's in charge. Yeah, okay. So, why didn't Trotsky take over? I don't know. The same reason why wasn't Trotsky leader instead of Lenin in the first place, right? I don't think Trotsky had that in him, right? You need certain special element in you if you want to be that kind of leader, right? I mean, every leaders came about, however bad, they had this certain element of this certain thing that makes them somewhat of a leader, right? They have this aggressiveness to them. They have certain aggressive political thing to them, right? They take some gambling type of moves, right? That could backfire, but they take it anyway because they believe in that strongly instead of playing it safe. I guess Trotsky was the one who played safe in a way, right? While Stalin was like, he was Stalin, he was like hardcore from the start. So I'm guessing he made certain moves here and there, he schemed here and there, did some politicking here and there, right? And I guess just moves Trotsky away or something, I don't know. I think, that's probably what it's going to be. I don't know if there is more detailed thing that happened there. But yeah, obviously history will tell us. Let's watch it.
Deads, it wasn't long until Joseph Stalin took over as the undisputed leader of the USSR. As many of you will know, Lenin was not a fan of Stalin and openly didn't want him to succeed. And yet, Stalin won out in 1924, and a few short years later the Soviet Union was under his absolute control. Which raises the question, why? Why did Stalin take over the USSR instead of somebody like Trotsky? So, as of Lenin's death, the Politburo consisted of these 7 men, all of whom had some chance of succeeding Lenin. Publicly, the new policy...
Alright, yeah. Soviets were deep atheists, right? I mean, that was the thing. Soviets were atheists, right? So that little joke was just awesome. Oh yeah, you thought you're atheist, right? How do you explain this? You're not entering.
Going forward was that the USSR would be led by a committee of equals who would vote on policy. Privately, scheming. Stalin was quick to act, and along with Lenin's deputy Lev Kamenev and a man called Grigory Zinoviev who was in charge of Comintern, the three formed an alliance. This alliance was called the Troika, which had the sole purpose of blocking Leon Trotsky from power. Why? Well, the primary reason was that there were major policy disagreements between them. As a result of economic troubles during the Russian Civil War, Lenin had implemented what was called the New Economic Policy. This allowed for things like the private sale of goods for profit into the new communist economy, which Trotsky had opposed. Trotsky was very popular with the general population in the USSR, and this popularity meant that he could rally support, especially from the military, which for the other members of the Politburo could cause problems. As such, with a gentle push from Stalin, Zinoviev and Kamenev publicly denounced Trotsky as being an enemy of Lenin's vision.
I think Trotsky became someone, under the crosshairs because what he was, right? I mean, yeah, he was already famous with the people. He was already kind of like a image figure, right? And even to him, he's like, okay, I don't need to do much, right? I'm Trotsky, right? So he was really hardcore here and there with policies. He didn't make probably some compromises here and there. He was very strong with his thing. Like, I'm Trotsky. I want to bend down. So I guess he made enemies pretty fast. And people like Stalin suddenly realized we need to remove this one if we want to do anything. Otherwise, we're not going to succeed.
Over the next year and a half, both sides tarnished the other's reputations until everybody involved looked quite bad. Except for Stalin, because he had kept quiet. Trotsky's reputation as a military leader was particularly damaged, and he had to resign as head of the Soviet armed forces. Whilst all of this was going on, Stalin was making friends with the other Politburo members, like the editor of Pravda, Nikolai Bukharin. He also made friends with the man actually doing the day-to-day running of the USSR, Alexei Rykov. And this is where Trotsky fell short. Stalin was willing to concede points to make friends and put gaining power over any ideological purity. Whereas Trotsky would concede precisely nothing, and his staunch opposition to the deeply held beliefs of his fellow communists did not win him any friends. When it was time for new internal elections to the Politburo, Stalin's new friends were able to band together and got Kamenev...
See, I kind of see this coming, right? I mean, obviously, this was somewhat obvious in this way, I guess. I mean, Stalin already, I like how Stalin just pit all those two people, against each other, who just basically denounce each other in front of the people, while he just standed in the background saying nothing, right? Making sure his image is not bad. And just at the right moment, by making a good friends here and there, right? Because he knew, like, oh, okay, I'm going to make compromises now, but when I become in power, then they'll know, right? Well, Trotsky, like I said, he's like, I already made it. I'm Trotsky. I don't need to bend down. That was his downfall, right? While Stalin knew that he has a long road ahead, right? He was, really good at politicking in a way. He was really conniving, scheming, right? He just pit people with against each other, I guess. And in the end, just basically made some good friends here and there, greased some elbows here and there, and just got in with a good position that he could really strike.
Demoted whilst bringing in more friends of Stalin. This spooked everyone else, who suddenly thought, hey, this Trotsky guy might not be so bad after all. As such, new alliance, the United Opposition. They opposed the new economic policy, wanted faster industrialization and more interference in foreign affairs to spread communism. These may or may not have been good points, but it didn't matter because Stalin was in control of most of the levers of power at this point. And so he just used the secret police to threaten members of the United Opposition into silence. He got Trotsky deselected, and soon afterwards he outlawed opposing the Politburo's policies. Trotsky was then exiled to the Kazakh region of the USSR and was then kicked out of the country in 1929. And so, with Trotsky dealt with, Stalin was free to fully assert his control over the party. And subsequently, of the 7 members of the Politburo who served just after Lenin's death, Stalin purged most of them and assassinated Trotsky in Mexico in 1940.
He sort of made a joke about, paintbrush intensifies or something like that. I mean, look, after seeing this, how he moved up, what he did to Trotsky, this is what whenever you see somebody who's like really paranoid and do some shit and sees, schemes here and there and everywhere, just putting doubt over his own friend, his own loyalists, like, okay, they're scheming against me. Usually because that's what they did in the past, right? That's what they're seeing. So, how Stalin basically schemed and just did all this shit. Now he's afraid of his own people because he thinks like next Stalin could rise up like that. So he just started to purge everybody, right? Put paintbrush everywhere.
Leaving himself as the unparalleled ruler of the USSR. I hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to my patrons: James Bizanette, Kelly Moneymaker, Korsho Wolf, Sky Chappelle, Kartoitska, Jerry Lambdin, Alex Schwinn, Adam Stalter, Jordan Longway, Rod D. Martin, Wyan Hockey, Marcus Arsner, Captain Psydog, Marvin Cassow, Spencer Lightfoot, Winston Kaywood, Boogily Woogly, Daniel Tabian.
There you go. I'm not gonna lie, that actual image of Stalin that I saw, there was an image of where he took a photo with somebody. And then there was an image where somebody literally paint over him, like photoshopped him, right? At the time with the paintbrush and things. Like, holy shit, that looked like somebody did it in Photoshop, in computer, not with the paintbrush and, things like that. It was so good. Editing was so good. You could not know that there was a person there where somebody edited that. That was so fucking good, not gonna lie. But scary at the same time. Imagine the people around him, right? People are like, wait a minute. This photo used to be different, right? Wasn't there a guy there? Stalin, what guy? No guy existed. There are no birth records of him. What the fuck? He just erases people from existence. Right, well, that was why didn't Trotsky take over the USSR after Lenin? Because Stalin was more conniving, more of an a-hole than Trotsky ever was, I guess. That's why. If you like my Rick, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.